Hello and welcome to, well, Yu-Gi-Oh! The trading card game, how to play the card game, my version. I love the card game since it came out, and, oh, that's pretty much to put it. So, as this is the title, I will get straight into Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Prologue. So, this bit is where I explain what I'm doing, and yeah. So, first of all, to honor the one who created Yu-Gi-Oh! The manga, which actually ended up into an anime, and our great card game we have today, I'd like to say thank you to the one who created it, who is currently passed away this year, Kazuki. And also, sorry about my pronunciation. I'm not very good at saying Japanese words, but other country words, but still. Thank you for giving us this great card game, the great mangas, which end up into so much. And I hope everyone pays their respect to him as well. Now then, back to the chapter. This is the prologue, so let me introduce myself properly, shall we? This is my Yugioh character. Just to say, his name is Runnhurd Shadow Yugioh, and I'll be using this icon here to show off for the prologue. So, as I said, this is the prologue of me explaining how to play the card game. I've seen a lot of people do it, but also I've set this up to be just like how the official Yu-Gi-Oh! Guide one, so I set it into 7 chapters. So, in further ado, well, but before I get that, there is a lot of stuff to see, so I'm going to say this. If you want to learn more, there's more details I can not explain, but yeah. Basically, the best way to learn it is to actually play the game. You can either get the cards from actual card shops or normal shops, buy booster packs, star decks, or even play Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels, which is free on any console or system. And it gives you, but also, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of my best games I like, because I love the artwork, the cards, but even though a lot of the cards got too big powerful now. But anyway, I've read the mangas, watched the anime, Japanese and English, and I had to say the Japanese one is better than the English dub, so watch the Japanese first. I watched the movies, and, well, a lot of stuff. So, if I do, let's get into the next chapter. Chapter 2, Preparation. This is where we begin with the turn of the thing. You see, with Yu-Gi-Oh!, as I said in the prologue, you need a deck. Well, actually, I didn't say it. Just your cards. Anyway, let's bring up the thing. Yu-Gi-Oh's card game, you have a deck limit of 40 to 60 cards. In the past, the limit was only 40 and up, but after a certain tournament where this guy had like over 100 cards, a lot of cards in his deck, they get a limit. So yeah, the extra deck zone is where you put all your extra deck cards. Basically, fusion monsters, secret monsters, Xyz monsters, link monsters. It used to do not have a limit, but it got the limit when Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D started. Basically, I think they should actually undo the limit on the extra deck, because that's unfair. Because yeah, cards like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Jaden Yuki's deck, you can't literally make it the all-powerful deck that uses Emma Hills or your Spacians with just 15. Because he uses a lot more fusions, and basically if you could deck that, it will be awesome. So, if Konami could actually undo the limit there, that would be helpful. Well, actually, just make it a limit of 40 cards or 50. Next is the side deck. The side deck is basically what you use for your main deck. There are extra cards you do for matches or in tournaments for basically swapping cards around to adjust your deck. For example, if you had a duel in a tournament of a match and the first round you lost because they used a card which you had a card in your extra set side deck to use which could counter it, you could then adjust your deck with your side deck, but remember, any card you put from the side deck in, you must put a card out of it to make sure the same limit applies. So yeah. Next, we'll go to the map details. Well, mats. Now, there's been 3 types of mats over the years, so we'll start with the first one. This was the original mat, which I think people would think basically would be the best way to start, but the mat's up to date, so we'll just go straight in everything in order. But yeah, I'm doing it this way because it's to also explain the history of Yu-Gi-Oh, how it evolved well. So as you see, we have the field, we have a deck zone on the bottom right, and on the bottom left it's called extra deck zone, which is the cards we put fusion, synchro, exceed and link monsters in. Above the extra deck is the field zone, where you put a card with a spell card with the field spell mark. Plus, also note, if you own any old Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you might have some Yu-Gi-Oh cards that have the word magic on them. That word was changed after some ruling, so now they're spell cards. But if you got an old magic card that says, an old spell card that says magic, then don't worry, they're still the same cards. Next to this field card zone is the monster zones. This is where you put your monsters in face up or face down. Basically, you have 5 monster zones, and then next to the monster zones, above the deck, is the graveyard, where all the cards go once they're used. There is meant to be another spot where you put all cards that's removed and play, but they see that they either put it next to the graveyard or above the graveyard. Also, the card slots below the monster zones is known as the spell and trap zones. This is where you put your spell and traps. Also, 2 zones were changed, but that will come in it, so let's get to the next one. This is that match when it came into 5Ds, basically the 5th season of Yu-Gi-Oh! The anime. The 2 markers, the red and blue, are known as pendulum zones. Basically, the mat stays the same, it's just that these were classed as the pendulum, so we put pendulum cards. Pendulum cards are literally spell cards and monster cards. That will be explained later on. But in the latest mat, they remove them. So let's get to the latest mat. This is how it's all set up now. This is the best I can make. So we've got deck, extra deck, field zone, graveyard, and they've even put a move and play on this image, but I don't know if the other. Oh, the other one might be token to that. And you see they move the pendulum ones into the spell trap zone. They're still cast as spell and trap ones, but they're also your pendulum markers as well. So yeah. And you see the blue ones above. Those are known as the link zones, or as extra monster zones for the extra deck. You can summon fusion, exceed, link, or synchro into them, but it's best to only use them for link, even though they give you, it literally gives you 6 monster zones to use. You can choose which one you want to use, but the other one must be used by your opponent. But if you using a link monsters extra deck, then there's a special requirement where you can co-link your monsters to take control of the other co-link, so you can have 7 monsters. If you want more explanation of this, please check the rulebook or check Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels. And now, let's go to the next chapter. Chapter 3. Card details. Now, this part of the game is where it gets a bit tricky. I've set this up ready and that, but yeah. So basically we're going through the card details. So let's go. There are multiple cards for use in this game. When there used to be only a few, but now there's a lot. And maybe so let's start. First of all, we'll start with the back. This is how the Yu-Gi-Oh cards look on the back. We have the word Yu-Gi-Oh, the trading card game below, and the company that's releasing them, Konami. Next we have normal monsters. These are this colour. They have no effects. They're just the monster cards that you use in the game. But they can come in strong or weak, but they also come with the names and details, attributes and that, which actually helps with the deck. And a lot of cards that use to help them the most. Next we have effect monsters. These are monsters that have effects on them. Depending on the effects, it allows you to do certain things, like special summon themselves or other, or even weaken or destroy. There's many effects. Next we have ritual monsters. Ritual monsters are like normal monsters or effect monsters, but they cannot be summoned normally. You need a spell card known as a ritual spell to summon them. As for this one, currently there are two or three ritual spells that can summon it. Oh, I think it's 3. Oh no, there's more. Black Soldier can be summoned by its own original, or the one that's used in the movie, Dark Side Dimensions, or several others. But yeah. Certain ritual cards are used to summon ritual monsters. Some of them are designed to be able to use any ritual, but some of them can only be used by certain ritual spells. So yeah. Next we have fusion monsters. Fusion monsters are literally a fusion of monsters of multiple types, which you use a spell card or other card that has the ability to fuse. The reduced fusion card is Formulation. For example, this fusion card is Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. You use 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons to fuse summon it. Fuse summons can be done by hand, field, with a spell card, but if a certain spell or traps and monster effects can actually do it using the graveyard, deck, or so on. Also, some effects can also summon this fusion without using but that means they can't come back to the graveyard because they want fusion summon. Yeah. Also, some fusions do not need actual names, they can just have types or attributes. Next we have Synchro Monsters. Synchro Monsters are, we would just say they're speed summon cards. To put it simple, it's basic math. You need a tuner and a non-tuner, even though there is a monster or two that you can use more than one tuner. Basically, let's just explain. You have a tuner monster, level 3, and you have a level 5 monster on your field. You would add the two together, making sure one is a tuner and one isn't. Then you would say you tune the level 3 with level 5, send it to the graveyard, and you can summon Stardust Dragon. But remember, some synchro monsters need certain types or so on, or certain even tuner names to summon them. It's a bit more of a math version of the Fusion Mon, but yeah. Next we have the Exceed monsters. As you can see, Exceed's so-called level is on the other side. This is known as a rank. And also, by rank, it means it's not a level. So certain trap cards that prevent monsters with levels, it won't work on them. And as a rank, to explain how this works. Number 39, Utopia, is a rank 4. Its summon qualities is 2 level 4 monsters. Yes, a rank requires the same, not a certain number of monsters with the same level. Some require more, some require, well, you get the idea. It's normally 2 or more monsters that require to exceed someone. Also, the best thing about exceed monsters is the monsters do not go to the graveyard. They go underneath the card as exceed units. Exceed units are used to activate the exceed effects. For example, if you attack with Utopia or a monster attacks you can discard 1 unit from Utopia to negate an attack. This card effect was also shown in the second episode. I think it was the second episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, but it was also shown with a card combo that was actually awesome with this. The spell card was used was double or nothing, which doubled Utopia's effect to attack and allowed him to attack again. And that's, if you basically want to see that combo, just watch the series. Next we have Pendulum Monsters. Pendulum Monsters came out in... Oh yeah, I should explain this. Synchro Monsters came out in 5Ds, Exceeds come out in Zexal, and Pendulums came in Arc V, or Arc 5. The original 4 ones came out in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, even though Yu-Gi-Oh! GX uses more fusions. Back to what we were explaining. A Pendulum Monster, as you can see, is half monster, half spell card. These can be put in the Pendulum zones, which I explained earlier on the map. I'll explain more about the Pendulums a bit more in the Pendulum set. For example, you notice the picture is actually almost cut a bit. That is simple because you have the Pendulum scale settings with a Pendulum effect for when it's in the Pendulum zone, as well as our monster effect. Here's the thing: if a Pendulum monster is on the field, even in the Pendulum zone or in the monster zone, or it is sent to the extra deck zone face up when it's destroyed. But if it's sent from your hand, it's sent to the graveyard. And also, as counter the rules, if you Pendulum summon a monster from the extra deck, it goes straight on your extra monster zone, and you can't summon any more, except for any monsters in your hand. Even though it used to be you can summon as many as you want, but yeah, I want them to fix that. Next, we have the latest of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters, Link Monsters. This is Decode Talker. As you see, it's pretty much like a normal monster, except for it has 8 markers. These markers are known as Link markers. Basically, they are what you need to summon more Link monsters, because you can only summon 1 Link monster in the extra monster zone. And where the markers point is where you can summon other monsters, as long as it's not in your opponent's field. Co-link is basically when 2 of the arrows are pointing to each other. That is how you get a co-link. And you can use that to co-link to do an extra link. Extra link is when multiple monsters of Link monsters are linked with a co-link that points all the way down to the extra monster zone. So you can take over your opponent's extra monster zone and have 7 monster zones. That is for mainly a pure fledged Link deck. Now, to summon a Link monster, you need pretty much the same qualities like a Synchro summon or an Exceed summon, but it's different. For example, Kodok here needs 3 effect monsters with different names. Plus, so yeah, you need to have 3 monsters with effects on the field, send them to the graveyard, and you can summon him. But also, you will notice this monster does not have defense points. It also cannot be turned in defense mode. And it means it can also not be turned face down. Reason? Because it has a Link marker. The Link marker is basically based on its Link summoning, and this is a Link 3. So basically, if you had something like a Link 4 monster you want to summon that requires a Link 2 or more monsters, basically 2 plus, you could use Cold Talker as 3 Link arrows and 1 other monster that requirement. depending, it only requires, well, 2 or more monsters. Like Starless Dragon, that requires 2 or more monsters to summon it. It's a link 4. So you could use Decode Talker as 3 links and 1 other monster to summon it. So Fireball Dragon would be summoned, and you'd have a link 4 monster. Link monsters are good because they're fast at summoning. Now, we have one more card to explain, and it's a token card. Token cards do not go in the deck or enemy. They're literally used for, like, if you summon a token card by a card effect. It's basically represent the monster that is summoned. Now, tokens are classed as normal monsters, like the blue eyes of them, but they are also still not classed as monsters. Because once a token gets destroyed, it doesn't go to the graveyard, it just destroys and leaves the field fully. But, yeah. Also, some cards, like a Link Spider, requires a normal monster. You can use a token to summon Link Spider, because a token class is a normal monster. And any other card that requires a normal monster, you can use it as, but also there are some card effects that prevent you from tributing or using them like that. For example, Scapegoat, you cannot tribute them as for tribute summons. But you can still use them for link summons. Or other card effects. Now and then. Let's see, this chapter is going to be a bit long, but now we can get into the card details more. Here is the back of the card, full size so you can read it properly. We have Konami's name and Yu-Gi-Oh card trading on it. This is how it looks. Some cards will be damaged, but also that's what card states are for. Next we have the full size of Blue Eyes White Dragon. This is how the Blue Eyes White Dragon, the original card that was used for against the Dark Magician in the series, and well, basically, as you see, this is how we'll explain it more. We have the name, the attribute. There are 6 attributes: light, dark, fire, wind, water, earth. And then there's its type. The type is, it's basically because it's a dragon type. There are over 20 types, so if you've memorized them, or please check the rulebook or any out or the Yu-Gi-Oh Masters to check. Then below we have the information about the card, like a description of the card, which is only on the yellow monsters, but the normal monsters because it's like a tennis story. Below that we have attack points and defense points. Attack points are used for attacking, defense points are used for defending. Basically when you have the card sideways, that's to use the defense points. More details later. Here's the effect monster. This is Dark Necrophia. Oh wait, go back. I forgot about the levels. As you see, Blue Eyes is a level 8. That means it's star level. It requires 2 tributes to summon it. That means you have to offer 2 monsters to summon it. If it was a level 6, you need 1 monster. Basically, unless the card has a detail that says more tributes or 10 tributes, that's how you summon it. 7 and 8 or higher requires 2, unless it's a card detail. 6 and 5 require 1 tribute. 4 and below require no tributes. You can summon them pretty much easy. Alright, back to the card. Dark Necrophia, the monster. This monster, pretty much, and any normal effect monster can be summoned like it normally, depending on its level. It has its name, its type, its attribute, attack and defense, but also effect monsters have effects. Dark Necrophia cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by removing 3 fiends from the graveyard, or as they've changed it, the GY. And by moving play means banishing right now. During the end phase of the card this was sent to the graveyard by destroyed by battle, you can equip this card to an opponent's monster and take control of it. basically it's pretty much like a brain control card. And as long as it's equipped to that monster, you have it fully control. There are many effects like flip effects, which are when they're face down and they're flipped, they can do much things like destroy monsters, return monsters, and or draw cards. There are also, just so you know, do not get confused with flip, summon, and flip cards. Flip cards are basically when you opponent attacks and they flip, or you flip them yourself. Flip summoning is when you flip them to be summoned face up on the field. A flip summon is basically when you flip it from face down to face up, and you can only flip them into face up attack position. More detail of that will be you can explain in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Masters or the card book. Ritual monsters. They are pretty much the same as the other monsters, name, level, and they say your effects and also what cards can you summon them, attack and defense, type and attribute. But they cannot be summoned without the ritual spell. For example, in this card it says this can be ritual summoned with the Blackluster ritual. The ritual spells are a spell that have a special mark that says they can ritual summon a certain monster or so on. To ritual summon you need the spell card, this monster in your hand, play the spell card, then you offer monsters equal to the star level or more. Some will require a certain type of monsters by name, or some will require you to only use the exact level or over the top. So be careful and read carefully on the ritual summons, because cards like Blackluster can pull you out of a pinch, especially if you use the spell card that was used in the movie, Dark Side Dimensions. It lets you either play a Blue Eyes or Dark Magician from the graveyard to ritual summon. So yeah, I think that's called Chaos Max Ritual. Next, moving on, Fusion Monsters. This is the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. It's a level 12. Yes, the max level, star level is 12. Which mostly fusion monsters are the ones that hold them. There are synchro monsters that hold them, but that's it. As you can see, it says Dragon Fusion next to its type, because it's a fusion monster. And below that it says Blue Eyes plus Blue Eyes plus Blue Eyes. It's the same as any monster card, but also there can be some with effects. You use the ones in the word below the type to... You use the ones below the type where it says a name to summon it, based with a fusion spell or other card effects requirement. As I said before, the main fusion spell to use is Polymation. Basically, you send them from the hand or field to the graveyard after you play the spell card, and then you place it from your extra deck into your monster zone or extra monster zone. And fusion monsters can be very powerful and very good, especially when you combo it with Deep Fusion. Basically, like this card, you can fuse summon, attack, then play Defusion, and special summon all 3 Blue Eyes back to the field and attack. But if Defusion lets you pick, so if you play on an opponent's fusion monster, you do not have to return the fusion materials, which means you can send the fusion monster back to the extra deck and not return the monsters. But it's a good card if you're using a fusion card to have a defusion, so you have extra attacks. This is the synchro monster. As I said before, you need a tuner, and as you can read, synchro monster, and it has effect. Stardust Dragon. Basically, once per turn, you can tribute this card to negate. Well, it's supposed to be once per turn during either player's turn. This has been changed into the word of quick effect. So basically, you can be used anytime as long as they use an effect that can destroy cards for Stardust's effect to activate. To learn more about quick effects and other things, like 1 once per turn and that, or once per duel, please read the book or check on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels. And as you know, you need a tuner and 1 or more non-tuners. And Stardust can be summoned with any tuner, as it shows only 1 tuner and no other. Now we have the Exceed monsters. As you can see, it shows the rank, it's 4, because it's on the other side. Also, do not think it's a card from 5D's, the negative synchros, because it's not. Anyway, let's get back to this. As you see, it needs 2 level 4 monsters, doesn't matter which type, but that's how you summon it. And you can attach it to 1 material for it to negate an attack, because the monsters you use to summon an Exceed monster goes underneath it. I'm just trying to bit much, so yeah. Next we have Pendulum monsters, or is this one, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. As you can see, it has a scale of 4. The scales are basically like this. If you have a scale of 1 to 8, basically 1 pendulum monster with 1 and 1 pendulum monster with 8, and you put them in the pendulum scales, you can spend pendulum summon between 2 and 7. Also, some pendulum monsters have a pendulum effect that prevents them from summoning any other types, or preventing you from summoning unless there's certain requirements, or yeah. For example, but yeah, this Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon's pendulum effect is basically when it's during the end phase, you can destroy it to add 1 pendulum magician or perform a power or Odd Eyes. Well, basically a certain monster with low attack points. It has to be a pendulum monster still. And then below it has pretty much the same thing as it's pendulum. Also remember this, pendulum monsters are classed as monsters and spell cards, which means they can go in the pendulum zones and monster zones. But also, pendulum monsters, when they're face up on the field, are destroyed, they go straight up, face up on the extra deck. Which means if you've got pendulum cards to summon it back, you can summon it back. Odd Eyes is a level 7, so you can normal summon it by tributing 2 monsters, or if you've got a scale between with an 8 and below, or basically any pendulum scale that can summon at level 7, you can pendulum summon it. But remember, if it's face up on the extra deck, you can only summon 1 pendulum monster from the extra deck, unless they change the rules again. Link monsters. This shows more detail because it's bigger. As you see, it has 8 markers. The red ones are basically the markers of its link. It uses 2 plus effect monsters. This means all monsters must be effect monsters. Basically, if you have a link monster of link 2, you can use that substitute for 2 of the link requirements and 1 effect monster to summon it. Cold Toga's link is free, and as you see where it says link, it has no attack, no defense, so it can't be turned defense mode or face down. Plus, it doesn't have a level, which means any cards with level ability, it won't affect it. Decode Toga has 2 effects. One is any monster that's in its link hours means it will gain 500 attack points. So if you can put it, link summon it into one of the link zones with points to opponent's monster, it'll gain 500 attack points. And if you add 2 more, it'll get another 500, making it a total extra 1500 attack points. Plus, you contribute 1 of the monsters to negate an effect. And destroy that card. But you cannot tribute your opponent's monster because you do not control the opponent's monster. This is a token card is basically like a monster card, but it has no attack or defense, or I mean, it just says token. This can be used token. Basically, you depending on the details of what you use to summon the token, that's the details on this card. That's why it's blank. As I said, tokens do not go to the graveyard. They're treated as normal monsters, and yeah. So it's good to have like 5 tokens for your field, because a lot of cards are just tokens. Alright, now let's get on to the spells. We have normal spells, ritual spells, quick play spells, equip spells, field spells, and continuous spells. As you see, these are the whole spells we use for the deck. Now, I've said that, now let's get straight into the details. Yeah, probably be better if I actually explain the details when I'm using the big cards. Sorry, but this is my first time doing this, but I'm doing my best, so just bear with me. Normal spells. Normal spells are like this. Also remember, they used to be called magic cards, which means where it says spell, it used to be spell, but magic. But you can use them still. But you get that idea. Normal spells are pretty much just normal spell cards. You can use them on your turn, and that's it. And this is a pawn machine which you can use to fuse someone. Other spell cards have certain effects, like timing effects, but yeah. Please read this full book or check Master Duels for more details. Ritual spells. This is the ritual spell to ritual summon Black Luster Soldier. As you see, next to the word spell card, it has a little symbol, like a little flame. This is what you know it's a ritual spell. As you can see, it says this is used to summon Black Luster Soldier. You can tribute monsters from your hand or field whose total level equal 8 or more. That means you can summon new monsters to go over the level, but remember, some ritual spells require you to use the exact level, and some require you to use effect monsters or normal monsters, or other things. Yes, ritual summoning can be offering monsters in your hand or field to ritual summon. So basically, if you have, but also remember, it's the ritual spell Chaos Max Ritual, if I remember what that's called, is used for any chaos or max ritual summon. Wait, yeah. Or is it also black? I can't remember. You can but only that spell card lets you remove and play a blue eyes or dark magician from the graveyard to use as count as the ritual monster's ritual summon. But it means you can also use monsters in your hand and field still. So read the card effects to be careful. Also, as I said before, check any more details on Master Duels or books. Next we have quick play spells. Quick play spells has the lightning symbol in the next where it says spell card. These spell cards are literally nice because you can play these during the battle phase from your hand or when they're face down the field. Just remember, if you set them on the field, you cannot play a quick play spell card on the turn you set it. You can also play a quick play spell card on your opponent's turn. For example, that magic dimensions. You can, if you got spellcaster, you can target one monster your opponent control and one monster you control, tribute them both, and tribute your spellcaster to summon one spellcaster on the field and destroy one monster on the field. Right. Oh wait, sorry, let me read that. If you control a spellcaster, you can target one monster you control, tribute it, special one spellcaster on the field, and destroy one card in your opponent's field. Basically, if your opponent special summons or summons a strong monster which you don't want, you can then play this spell card, place someone down on your field, and then use the effect. That's a good thing about quick play spell cards. You can play them on your hand during your turn's battle phase, but when it's your opponent's turn, you must have them face down on the field, ready to activate. And remember this, you cannot play it the turn you set it. Plus, some quick play spell have certain timing effects, so be careful and read them carefully. Next, we have the equip spell cards. Equipment spell cards are a unique card that equip to monsters. As it has that plus symbol, it means it equips to monsters. Depending on the equipment card, it can increase their attack points, decrease them, or adjust effects, or basically make them unable to be destroyed or affected by effects. Sorry. Example: this equipment spell card, Magnum Shield, can only be equipped to a warrior type monster. It can, depending on its battle position, you can add its attack points to its defense points, or its defense points to its attack points. So, for example, if you have, say, Black Luster Soldier on the field, and you play this, and it's in attack position, Black Luster Soldier would gain its 2500 defense to its 300 attack, making it 5-5. But if it's a defense build, it would add its attack points to its defense points, still making it 5-5. Oh. Equipment spells cannot be based on types, attributes, and also their effects randomized. But also there are cards to adjust them. Also remember this: quick equipment spell cards can be played on the field, and they stay on the field equipped to the monster. You can also equip equipment spells to your opponent's monsters, depending on the effects. For example, if you got Ring of Magnetism that decreases a monster by 500 attack and defense, and your opponent's got a monster that's same or more attack points than your monster, you equip it to your opponent's monster, it decreases monster, but Ring of Magnetism makes you have to attack that monster, so be careful. Field spells. As you can see, the field spells got like a star symbol in the corner. Field spells go into the field spell zone. They literally have their own zone. They don't go in the spell and trap zone. And they can be set or face up activated. The effects can either affect you or your opponent or both. For example, Fusion Gate lets any player fuse summon as long as they've got materials. But the thing is, because it's a field spell and not a normal spell card, it has a requirement. You must banish or remove from play the monsters that you use to fuse summon. And you can only use it with monsters on the field. You cannot use it with hands. Yes. So basically, if you have the required monsters for a fuse summon on your field, you can remove them from play and fuse summon. Next, we have continuous spell cards. These spell cards are pretty much like equipment spells and field spells a bit. They stay on the field. They've got the infinity symbol, aka sideways 8, on the icon. They stay on the field and have special effects that stay in the field or counter, or so on. Example. This spell card gives you 500 life points per each spell card that's been played. So if your opponent is using a spell card deck, then yeah. Also, just note, if your opponent plays a pending monster in the pending zone, that still counts as a spell card, so you would still get extra life points. Also, there are multiple things like timing and that effects. So, if more details, please read the rulebook or check Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters. Now let's get into the trap cards, shall we? We have normal traps, counter traps, and continuous traps. Now, you're wondering why is there only 3 when there was a lot of spells and monsters? Well, the answer to that is pretty simple. Trap cards can only be played after you a turn after the set. Example. This is a normal trap. Mirror Force. One of the strongest traps there is. And I say one of them because there's many others as well. When your opponent declares an attack, you can destroy all your opponent's attack position monsters. Nice, right? And it's best for the base of starting a deck with. Normal traps can be set and played pretty much any time. But this one you can only play when your opponent declares an attack. But because it's card detail. But yeah, you have to wait a turn once you set them, unless you use other card effect to set the card, which says you can activate that turn. But normally you cannot activate on the turn you set it. Counter traps. As you see, it's got this little symbol of an owl. This is known as a counter. If your opponent, this is a good thing to use against something like Meal Force or other things. For example, this says pay 1,000 life points to negate the activation of a trap card and destroy it. If your opponent activates, say, Meal Force when you attack, you could have this face down the field as long as it's been there a turn before, activate it, pay 1,000 life points because it's countering the trap card, it negates and destroys it. That way, the opponent will not destroy your monsters and you can still attack. There are many counter trap cards with different effects and multiple things. Like this one that can stop you from losing life points and send it back to the life opponent, and there's others, lots. Maybe there's a lot. But there are mostly counter traps that require certain monsters on the field to summon, to negate. Continuous traps. These are pretty much like the continuous spell cards. But as I said before, you need them to be set first before activating. Millwall is a very, very unique one. Millwall lets you, when you play it, it stays on the field, but when your opponent attacks, they tap on, so the monsters are halved. And as long as you keep it on the field, the opponent's monsters' attack points remain low. And every time they keep on attacking, once it's on the field, the monster's attack points are halved again and again and again. But it only attacks the monster that attacks. It only does that to them. But also, this one has a cost. To keep it on the field, you must pay 2,000 life points or destroy it. Not all continuous trap cards have this. Some of them have just effect that just does things like DNA surgery, changes the type, DNA transplant, changes the attribute, or so on. Even Gravity Bind prevents level 4 higher monsters from attacking, which doesn't apply to Exceed or Link monsters, because those two do not have levels. But yeah, multiple combos you can use with these, so if you have any more questions for continuous traps, please read the rulebook or check Master Duels. Chapter 4, Phase of Gameplay. Now, this bit is where it gets a bit difficult. How do I put it? There are multiple phases in the game. For the main phase is draw phase, standby phase, main phase, battle phase, main phase 2, and end phase. Each player does these phases over and again, and it repeats with each turn, as it's shown here. Now, draw phase is what usually starts it, but of the late rules, the one who goes first in the duel cannot draw. They can only draw after it's then turn next. And also you cannot do the standby phase of the first two. When you start your turn on the first duel, you're in the main phase 1. That's for the first start of the duel. But after that, it goes like draw phase, where you draw one card, or if something prevents you or says we've played that does something, then yeah. Standby phase. This is where certain card effects can be activated or chained. For example, there are some cards that says during the standby phase you play this effect and do this. I can't think of anything right now, but if you want more explanation, check the rulebook or Masters. Main phase 1. In this phase, you can literally normal summon or set a monster. You can only normal summon and set one monster per turn. Special summons are you can do as many as you can, as long as nothing prevents you from. Battle phase is where you have your monsters attack your monsters. In this phase, there are some steps. Well, I will explain that in a bit. Main phase 2. Main phase 2 is basically like main phase 1, where you can normal summon or set, but it still counts as part of main phase 1, so yeah. If you summon or set a monster in main phase 1, you cannot do it in main phase 2, but if you do not do it in main phase 1, you can do it in main phase 2. Plus, you can put your spell and trap cards on the field, or activate them in main phase 1 or main phase 2, and some other spell traps can only be activated during main phase 1 or main phase 2, or standard phase. After you've done all your abilities and that, you end your turn, and sometimes there will be card effects that activate at that turn, but if they don't, then you go straight to your opponent's turn, and they go to the draw phase, and rinse and repeat. Also, to win a duel, you must either take down all your opponent's life points to 0, or make your opponent run out of cards, or have a card set that can literally make you win the duel, like Yugioh, Forbidden Board, or other types. There are multiple ways to win the duels. Let's see. Oh yeah. In the battle phase, there is a certain step. When you have a monster's attack, you do the start of the step is when the monster attacks. The battle step is when you have the monster on its target. Then the damage step, where you conduct between attack points and defense points, or attack and attack. And then the end step. That's when monsters go to the graveyard or stay on the field. Between these steps is also when you can play card combos, but yeah. To understand more rules and timing on this, please read the rulebook or check Master Duels. Okay, next it's Chapter 5, Battle and Damage. Now, we just went over this a bit before with the steps, but let's explain it a bit more. I got these three up because Now, attack points and defense points. If you attack a monster in attack mode, with an opponent's monster in attack mode, if your monster in attack mode attacks the opponent's monster in attack mode, if the attack points are the same, they literally both are destroyed, unless there's a card effect prevents it. If your opponent's monster has less attack points than your monster when it attacks it, then the monster will be destroyed and system represent it, and then they lose life points. You literally can remove the monster's attack points from your attack, and the leftover number is what life points they lose. This does not make your monster lose attack points, it's just the life points they lose. If you attack a monster in defense mode, you do no damage, but there are some cards that let you do piercing damage, which means you can do damage even in defense mode. But for now, they can't. If the opponent's monster's defense points are higher than your attack points, then you will take battle damage, and the monster is still alive. That's the card effect. If the monster's attack points are less, then their monster is destroyed, unless there's a card effect that prevents it. Let's see. Oh yeah. This is a bigger version of the pendulum scale bit as well. It shows there's a link 4. Doesn't matter. Both sides will always say the same number, because it means whatever side you put on, it will still mean that's. So basically, as I said before, you need, depending on between the two numbers, is what you can summon. So if you had a pendulum 4, scale 4, and a scale 6, you can always pendulum summon level 5s. and then you have the card effect for the pendulums when it's in the pendulum zone there. Below we have Link monsters one, but it only has attack points and Link marker. As explained, this is a link. If you want any more questions about this or questions about the battle phase, damage steps, and all that, please check out the rulebook or check out Master Duels. Chapter 6, Sample Duel. Now, this bit of is where I'm going to be having a sample duel with a friend. We'll be using pretty much the close to original decks used from the original official Yu-Gi-Oh guide. But if anyone wants me to use other sample type duels like character decks, then you would have to wait because I need to get more cards in the card game. The sample duel will be using with Master Duels, so you see the game play fully out and automatically do life points in that. I will be talking in it, but I don't know if my friend I would have to ask him. So enjoy the sample duel. Chapter 7. Have fun. Now, in the original one, they were just saying about card combos and that, but since the game has advanced so much, it's best to experiment yourself. And yeah. Or look up what other people do. But I said it's to have fun because I enjoy the game. I just have fun. Unlike most other players, they literally just... how to put it? A lot of players literally just make decks that will literally one turn you, negate all your cards, and prevent you from doing anything. This prevents people from having fun, and yeah, you get the idea. So, if people want, I will do some fun duel making decks and all that. And also how to explain how to make a fun deck and just have fun. If you're interested just have fun, then pretty much just watch the series, read the mangas, and read the cards. And try to enjoy making combos and that. But if you're just one of the sweats who just wants to hurt other people who play the game, who wants to have fun, yeah, I wouldn't suggest being them. Also, if you do not want to feel the sweaty of people who just want to have that, do not play ranked duels in Master Duels. That is pretty much full of all those type of decks. And no creativity, they're all just the same, using the same hand trap combos and other combos that everyone uses. But yeah, the game is fun. I've made over 300 decks. I enjoy the game, I enjoy the anime, I enjoy the manga. I read them all. So yeah. So, as I said, if people want me to do some deck creations, explain of character decks or theme decks for fun, then I will. But if you want me to do it on Master Duels, then please donate to me because I need the money so I can get gems to get the cards. Also, I need money for real life things too. But as they say in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's time to duel. So you can have it. But anyway, I hope you had fun understand this. As I said before, if you did understand this or need more explaining, please check out the rule books for the start decks, and check out the rules in Master Duels. Master Duels is free on all systems. You can also transfer your account data to any system. So yeah. Also, you don't have to use gems. You can literally just log in per day to get some gems and do some dailies. So until later, duelists, have fun, respect, and GG.